Across the country are showing their support for international students as hundreds have had their student visas revoked. Western Mass News reporter Reagan Stoddard joins us live in studio with more.
Yeah, Chris, right here in the Bay State, UMass Amherst is taking steps to ensure their students have all the necessary resources, especially after 13 of their international students had their visas revoked. All across the country, international students and their universities concerned and confused about how and why students' visas are being revoked by the U.S. government. Even those who practice law left with unanswered questions as to what is happening.
There's a lot of people that are perfectly within their rights to stay here and are being told to leave, and a lot of people don't know the difference.
UMass officials are taking a proactive approach, offering new advice for their international students, starting with making a plan even before a student is approached by a federal agency or their visa is revoked. They are also advising students to be prepared for emergencies by keeping key documents like ones that identify them and their immigration status on them at all times. UMass also addressing some of the most frequent questions being asked at this time, including what support will students get if their visa is revoked. UMass officials have said that if and when a student's visa is revoked, the Office of Global Affairs will reach out to offer any support. If contacted by a federal agency, students are advised to contact the Office of Global Affairs, and if they're approached on campus, call the University of Massachusetts State Police. How can a student get emergency financial assistance? They can get that through the Angel Fund, an emergency grant program. And what should a student do if they want to travel? The university is saying to consider postponing any non-critical or non-essential travel. In terms of why the federal government is revoking student visas, the university says they're still trying to figure that out themselves. For now, reporting live in studio, Reagan Stoddard, Western Mass News.